Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to dig into down payment assistance programs. This presentation is brought to you by Down Payment Resource and your Northwest MLS. And we also have two special guest speakers here today from two of your markets, down payment assistance providers. So we're going to quite literally learn from your local DPA experts about their down payment assistance programs, best practices, overcoming misperceptions, some of the features and unique benefits of the programs they provide. We're going to give you a lot of information about down payment assistance here today. Specifically, we're going to start with just a very brief glimpse into the state of DPA in Washington, what's going on with down payment assistance in Washington, and specifically Greater Seattle, but we'll kind of look at it from both angles here, statewide and market-wide. We'll also quickly show you how Down Payment Resource looks and works in your Matrix listing platform. Specifically, check out the button here on the left, the $ with the check mark. If you have seen that in Matrix, it will have been on active residential listings. That is your indicator that that property is eligible for one or more or likely many down payment assistance programs. So we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment. And then we're going to hear from your state housing finance agency about a number of their home buyer assistance or down payment assistance programs. That's the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. And we'll also hear from HomeSight, which is a local nonprofit that also funds and administers a number of down payment assistance programs across Metro Seattle and across the state. And we'll round it out with some of their final thoughts and some best practices for you when it comes to working with down payment assistance programs. Now, we here at Down Payment Resource have partnered with Northwest MLS to increase awareness of these down payment assistance programs among you, your peers, and also your clients. Our technology is integrated into the Northwest MLS property listing data, and it comes with additional tools for you, the realtors, to find and promote down payment assistance programs, and ultimately to connect home buyers to the down payment help they need and to help them explore home ownership or realize that home ownership may be within their grasp or may be possible sooner than they otherwise thought. So with that, my name is Sean Moss with Down Payment Resource. We have several members of our team in the background here. They're going to be answering questions as we go. So please use the Q&A feature in Zoom. Keep this interactive. Any questions you have for Down Payment Resource, for the Northwest MLS staff that is also monitoring here, or for our guest speakers today, put that in the Q&A and we will save time at the end to address those. Now, I do want to introduce our speakers. So we have with us today Dietrich Schmitz with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. He is their down payment assistance program administrator, been in the business as a loan originator for 18 years before going to the commission, and works a lot with nonprofits throughout the state to help build partnerships that allow for those that need down payment assistance to find a home of their own. So Dietrich, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Great to be here.
Good deal. And then we also have Musa Sam, the Homeownership Center Director at HomeSight Homeownership Center. He is a certified housing counselor and oversees their lending and counseling teams at HomeSight to ensure efficient service delivery, compliance with federal and state regulations, and attainment of their goals. He's also got over 20 years of experience in retail banking, investment services, and mortgage lending, and specifically focuses on nonprofit sectors based on his past and current experience. So Musa, thank you as well. Thank you for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks to be good to be here. Thank you for the introduction.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys. So we're going to kind of open up the dialogue here and hand it off to you in just a moment. I do briefly want to give our audience an overview of a couple of things. So we're talking about DPA or down payment assistance today, and we're going to get into the details and the nuances here, especially with your state housing finance agency and with HomeSight. But I do want to clarify, both of their organizations stayed open last year, this year, remain open now, and excuse me, together, they fund billions in purchase mortgages and down payment assistance annually. So we're not talking about refinance here today. We're focused on you, on purchase business, and we're talking about doing transactions with down payment assistance. Dietrich and Musa are doing this day in, day out. Their organizations are doing this day in and day out, despite market dynamics, despite appreciation, despite housing costs and so forth. Now, yes, there are challenges. We're going to talk about that as we go, but we do want to be clear that these programs are alive and well. They're not going away. They're not going anywhere. In fact, among all of the DPA providers, or beyond just Washington State Housing Finance Commission and HomeSight, who are very prolific providers of DPA, there are actually 62 homebuyer assistance programs in the state of Washington alone, 57 of which have money right now today. So they're active, funded, and available. And those come from 36 different housing agencies or nonprofits or municipalities. 49 of those programs in Washington offer down payment or closing cost help ranging from $10,000 to $80,000 in down payment assistance. And we want to make sure everybody remembers this when we leave today. 63% of your Northwest MLS active residential listings are eligible for at least one, if not many, down payment assistance programs. So almost 2/3 of your inventory, despite prices, are eligible for the programs available in your area that offer down payment or closing cost assistance. We feel like that number is perhaps flying under the radar, that yes, there are rising housing prices and so forth, but we also need to recognize, which is part of what we want to do today, that there is still plenty of opportunity out there to help buyers get into a home and do so by supplementing their down payment or by helping them overcome the down payment obstacle or potentially helping them with closing costs. So that's a brief sort of state of DPA. Now, how do you access all of this information? In a moment here, I'm going to turn things over to Dietrich to talk about the Washington State Housing Finance Commission's homebuyer assistance programs. And then Musa is going to talk about what they're doing at HomeSight. But as we go, I want to make sure that everybody leaves today knowing how to find their programs in Matrix when you're looking at listings, when you're showing listings, when you're presenting homes to your clients. So you'll see on the far right here, and this is a screenshot. I'll hop into Matrix here live in a moment. But on the far right, there's a $sign with a check mark. It's the same thing you see at the top right corner. That is that indicator I showed you earlier that tells you that property is eligible for some number of down payment assistance programs. Now, at let's say at $1 million, you're not going to see that button, right? There are purchase price limits for these programs. We'll let Dietrich and Musa get into the details there regarding their programs. But if you see that button, there's some kind of down payment assistance available for that property. And you can see that in agent views, as you see here. Your clients can also see that in the client portal or in One Home now. And then, of course, every member of Northwest MLS has Down Payment Connect for free. That is your free personalized landing page where you can generate unlimited traffic and leads from this search experience where home buyers are looking for down payment assistance where they want to purchase a home and connecting with you through this Down Payment Connect tool in order to start that conversation, or rather continue that conversation about pursuing home ownership. Now, before we hand this over to Dietrich, I do want to show you a couple of these things live. So I've just done a search here in King and Pierce counties in the mid 500s. And I want to point out the down payment button here on the right. When you hover over that, it says down payment resource. What that does is show you all of the programs. And I'm going to click on this here for that first listing. It shows you all of the programs available for that listing at that price, at that location, at that time. What that means is these programs can vary. They can change over time. Some may run out of money, certainly not the commission, but some local municipalities, for example, may run out of money. The programs may change. We track and monitor all of that so that when you click that button from a listing, you're going to see current, accurate information, up-to-date information about all of these programs. The DPAs first, you'll see your state programs first. So Dietrich is going to talk about those here in a moment. And then if we scroll down here, there are some programs from HomeSight as well. Now that listing was in Pierce County. This list of available programs will change as you cross city or county boundaries and move into other parts of the market. These programs are all over the market. And with any of them, you can click on the next steps button. You can see links to their participating lenders, their flyers, their guidelines, their website, their contact information. So if you want to reach out to these DPA providers, everything you need to do so is right here, including, as you can see, participating lender lists, contact information. In fact, you can see Dietrich listed right here. So with that, I also want to point out a couple more things. In One Home, when you're sending listings to a client, they can scroll down to the bottom of their listing detail and they'll see a link to down payment resource as well, so they can explore those options. And lastly, I want to point you to Down Payment Connect. Anytime you're in Matrix, you may not have noticed, but this down payment link at the top of your Matrix dashboard, that takes you to your down payment resource dashboard. And there you have your Down Payment Connect link waiting for you. Now, this is my little test or demo link. Yours will end with your first name _ last name. That's the Down Payment Connect lead generation tool that every one of you already have for free. It's waiting for you there. You can add it to your website, get people to do a down payment search, let them know these programs are out there. And another example from your market, maybe you want to educate them about down payment programs first, and then let them do the search. Nonetheless, we encourage you to go grab Down Payment Connect. And with that, I want to turn this back over to Dietrich, and he's going to tell us about what's going on with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. So Dietrich, take it away.
Thank you, Sean. Very happy to be a part of this. My name is Dietrich Schmitz. I'm the Down Payment Assistance Program Administrator with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission. My work involves a lot of back office efforts to create and maintain the programs we offer, as well as to promote awareness and use of the programs that the Commission offers. So, how did we get here? In 1983, under Governor Spellman, the Commission was created. It was created with the mission to make housing more affordable for all Washingtonians, and to do so without taking a dime from the state legislature. And in this mission, we've been very successful. Presently, in our homeownership division, we help over 8,000 homebuyers per year to attain the dream of homeownership. We do this primarily through down payment assistance, reduced first mortgage interest rates, as well as some less costly mortgage insurance for many. We don't do this in competition with the open market, but are there to help bridge the gap for those who might not otherwise be able to afford a home because they can't meet the down payment requirements, or simply cannot afford the regular monthly payment on a home without subsidy. We also partner with cities and municipalities to use federal funds in order to create programs that really provide a tremendous amount of assistance in some areas, such as the city of Seattle, where we can offer up to $55,000 in down payment assistance, or with our programs in Pierce County, which also offer a high level of assistance. Homebuyers who have 10% down or who make over $160,000 per year are more likely to be best served by conventional mortgage channels and are less likely to need or qualify for our programs. Our purpose is to help those who are having a hard time getting into a home or need a little boost to make it. And as Musa from HomeSight will talk about shortly, there are programs out there to help those who might need more than a little boost up. So I'm not going to dive deep into what qualifies as someone who can use our programs, in part because it's actually really simple. If a homebuyer attends our homebuyer education class that we sponsor, has at least a 620 credit score, and makes less than $160,000 per year, and is buying a home in Washington State, and they don't even have to be first-time home buyers, then odds are they will qualify for our programs. Pretty simple. So how much assistance can they get? It depends on the program chosen, but for example, on a $500,000 purchase, a home buyer could get almost $20,000 in assistance on a 0% interest loan with no monthly payments. Not everybody needs that help, but there are many people out there who you can get into a home of their own several years before they thought it could otherwise happen. So let's get into some of the details for you as real estate brokers with some of the details that might be more relevant to you. All of our borrowers who use our programs have to attend a sponsored homebuyer education seminar. This provides them with 5 hours of training on our 23 benchmark standards that we feel best prepare a homebuyer for home ownership and everything that goes with it. Having the buyer take part of a day to be better prepared means that you have a client who has a lot of their questions answered and will actually be able to work and will actually be less work for you than someone who hasn't been through a class. The borrowers do have to work with a lender who is participating in our programs. There are quite a few of those out there, although that's not every lender. And the originator who's originating the loan also has to have been trained on our programs. The next point, I want to be clear, since even in a hot market that it is tough to get an offer accepted, these programs shouldn't cause any hiccups on your deal. One thing which helps in this regard is asset verification. You don't have to worry about the borrower spending their funds prior to closing or a parent's gift not coming through. The funds are provided at closing by the lender and our funds are guaranteed. We don't really have to worry about running out of funds, especially on the Home Advantage program, just because of the way it's structured. We do require a home inspection if someone wishes to use our programs. Now, we do not require that it be part of the purchase and sale agreement that there is an inspection. We just require one to be done. We want to ensure that this home buyer has a professional look at and assess what they are buying. We don't review the inspection on our end. We merely ask for a receipt to be shown to prove that one has been done. And under certain criteria, we will accept an inspection done by the seller as long as the buyer has had a chance to review it and accept it. As far as adding time to the process goes, we do have a file review step where we look at a small portion of the lender's file. Our turn times in 2021 have been consistently running about 24 hours for that review. And you can always look at that, the review times up on our Twitter feed and check that because we update it on a daily basis. Some of our programs involving federal funds and larger down payment assistance do require more work, but that's less than 10% of the files that we see. If you want more information on those programs, feel free to reach out to me. So I really do believe that our programs bring tremendous value to our community. They take folks who might be a few years away from being able to buy a home and help them to buy a home today, and often with a lower monthly payment than would have otherwise been required. If you have clients that you think would be a good fit, or you would like to learn more about what we do, here are some steps you can take. First of all, you can attend our home loan program and home buyer instructor training. As a real estate broker, you'll get 6 clock hours for attending it. You'll get a greater knowledge of our programs and how they work. And you'll also gain the ability to teach home buyer education classes that we'll sponsor. And those classes are the requisite for home buyers who want to use our programs. Second, you can work with the lender who uses our programs. If you don't know one already, we have a premier lender page of loan officers across the state who regularly use our programs. And those are the folks who really tend to know them. You can also teach our homebuyer education classes. You'll do that in partnership with a lender who's also been trained on our programs. And we'd always be more than happy to come out to your office. These days, it's going to be virtually, but we're more than happy to come to you guys and give a little explanation of our programs and how they work to your office. You can also send clients to our website, which is heretohome.org. And that's a great place for folks to start if they're wanting to learn more about our programs, find out about attending the homebuyer education classes, or if they need to get connected up with the lender. So those are my programs. Thank you so much, guys, for having me here.
Thank you, Dietrich. And so with that, let's turn this over to Musa from the HomeSight Home Ownership Center. And Musa, tell us what's going on with HomeSight.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Dietrich. As you will see, some of the program will overlap because we work closely with the Washington, with Dietrich and his organization. So here at HomeSight, we are a local nonprofit and we've been in business for 30 years now. It says almost 30 years, but it's been 30 years as of this month. So, what we do here is we work in mortgage lending, but also community development. We try to be well-rounded here as far as how we help the community thrive. And here we're trying to see how we can always evolve and work with the communities here around here and be able to advocate for them, but also help them in their businesses, but also help them get into home ownership. Let's say, for instance, during this pandemic, HomeSight, our community development site, was able to help some of the local small businesses here with some money to help them with their rent. So that was something very humbling because many of those businesses were able to thrive beside all these challenges, thrive, and also not only that, some of those were able to come to us and be able to get a loan and get a home. So here at HomeSight, we do our first mortgages here, and any program that we do, any down payment assistance that we do, it's a requirement that the first mortgage is done here. And like Dietrich says, we have the home buyer education class here, and it's a 5-hour class. We have somebody, we contract with somebody that's teaching that class. Right now it's virtually, and we get many clients interested in that. But on top of that, we also have our counseling here. Anybody that goes through our program has to get, beside that 5-hour class, they have to get one-on-one counseling with, we have 2 head certified counselors here, and one is bilingual, speaks Spanish. So it's a requirement for anybody that goes through our program. So our program here, we do conventional loan, Fannie and Freddie, and it's 30-year fixed. We don't do any ARMs because the population that we serve, we want to make sure we don't get them into something that will hurt them in the long run. So what we do is we have 30-year fixed mortgages, and it's for single resident. We don't finance duplex, fourplex, or triplex, no investment. We just want to get people into a home where they can be, where they can have a stable life with their family, but also help them generate intergenerational wealth for them and their kids and possibly grandkids later on. Here at HomeSight, just like Dietrich said, the minimum FICO score that we require is 620. And also we want to make sure also we work with these clients, make sure that they don't have too many delinquencies on their credit report. And we work with them with those things too. And can we get to the next slide? Yeah. So on top of, so we have the first mortgage, but also we have second mortgages, and these second mortgages usually are the DPA, the down payment assistance program that we have. And we finance up to 103% of the purchase price here at HomeSight. And with the first mortgage, that helps us help our client avoid mortgage insurance, because we want to make sure that we cover that 20% that's needed. That way, that will help them avoid the mortgage insurance, but also help them with some of the closing costs. And all these second mortgages, DPA, are deferred programs. Okay. So some of the programs that we have here is this. One of the big one is what we get from the city of Seattle, up to $55,000 when somebody's buying within the city limit of Seattle. And we have a map that we use to see where the property address is to make sure that it fits within the criteria. And with this program, of course, the misconception that people come in here when they hear down payment assistance, they think that it's free money, but we make it clear that this is a loan. It's just deferred for 30 years, and the rate is rates are pretty low. For instance, this program, the rate is at 3% right now, and on top of that, HomeSight has its own bucket of money. Anybody buying within the city limit of Seattle, we give them the $55,000, but also an extra $25,000 from HomeSight's own money. That also is another loan that's deferred for 30 years, or whenever this program, whenever the client sells the house or refinances. On top of the city of Seattle, because Seattle's the pricing is just crazy right now. Many of the folks cannot afford to buy here. We have programs in King County that goes up to $45,000 in down payment. And on top of that, HomeSight also includes their $25,000, which can easily give somebody $70,000 out there. And for this program with King County, it's deferred 30 years also, and also at 4%. And those are the two programs within here. We have the Snohomish County. That one is up to $55,000 that folks can get with a 30-year deferred loan, same program. Similar here between the program and 3% right there. And we also have the Washington State Housing Finance Commission, DPA. We get $15,000 from Dietrich's organization for eligible borrowers at 1%. And this one is for families with disabilities. Either the borrower or a member of the family has a disability, we provide this $15,000 for them, and at 1%. And special counseling is needed for this program. So, and this Sam Smith, High Neighbor Sam Smith used to be a local politician here in Washington State. This is a program that's fairly new to us. We just had a soft landing recently. What happened is a local realtor here, she approached us and said, as a Caucasian, she felt bad about what happened to the Black community with the George Floyd thing, and wanted to put some of her commission to help Black homeowners who are buying homes from and being financed by HomeSight. So when we talked to her, before you know it, she got involved her firm, a local real estate firm here, and before we know it, it went all the way to their CEO, and their CEO was involved in this, and now their foundation is helping with this, so they was able to give us some substantial money. HomeSight put more money into it, and also the local Association of Black Realtors decided to be involved in this as well and put some money in. So this is something special designed for African American, and especially those who are between 80 to 120% area median income, because sometimes those folks, when they come into us, they don't qualify for some of this program because of their income being slightly high. So this is an extra $12,000 that we can give them to help them be able to afford a home, possibly within the city of Seattle or King County. But this is a program statewide. Anybody can use it. Okay. And this is another program here. This is the social justice program, fairly new also. We just got $3 million for this program. And this is, people will get $10,000, up to $10,000, but most folks will get $10,000, and it's for 30 years and 0% deferred. And this also goes to this is part of conversation we've been having with some local partners here, where Chase Bank came up and said they wanted to promote Black home ownership and wanted to see 60,000 new Black homeowners by year 2041, which is about 3,000 per year. And here, HomeSight, along with other partners within the home ownership realm, many of the other nonprofit, we decided that we want to be involved in that. So that's how this came about. This is part of that. That's how this came about. So this is, it's a soft launch, but we're already using it, and some folks are benefiting from it. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier, HomeSight Trust Fund. We have our own bucket of money here that we use to top any DPA that we use for these folks. And here at HomeSight, I've been in the private sector prior to this, but what I see here, I don't see anywhere. We have loans start up to 1, 2, 3, up to 4 sometimes, deferred loans on top of the first mortgage. And we have people literally working away with about between 70 to almost a little over 100,000 in DPA money. and some money that they don't have to pay till 30 years from now, or when they sell the house, or when they decide to refinance. And I think those are great programs that we have here. And like many people say, this is some of the metrics that we got from the county about the income guidelines, and we follow those because we work closely with the Washington State Housing Finance Commission and other governmental agencies. So, condition of purchase. We want to make sure we're not displacing anybody, especially the renters. So any house that's being sold, it's either the owner selling it, or there is no, or if it was a rental, the renters are already out of the house. And like Dietrich said, I'm going to emphasize on that. We here require a home inspection because we want to make sure that our borrowers, because usually money is tight for them, that's why they're coming to us for this down payment assistance. We don't want to get them into a home that's not livable and they won't be able to afford the repair. So we want to make sure that everything is ready, set to go. The home is livable. When they come in, they don't have to make any major changes. Next. And so if repairs are needed, we want to make sure that those repairs are done prior to the deal being closed. And we don't finance any fixer up or any handy special. So we want to make sure that the house is livable, as I said earlier. So first time home buyer. So this is a definition that we've been going back and forth with some of our partner organizations in the nonprofit. But we want to make sure that in the state of Washington, anybody that's a home buyer is somebody who has not held home ownership for the last 3 years, somebody that has no interest in any home in the past 3 years. So that's the main definition, but there are more definitions as you can see here. So, and at HomeSight, like I said earlier, we are a nonprofit. We are part of NeighborWorks America, and they give us some financing, and we get financing from HUD, and we report on the number of folks that we help and also the demographics. So one requirement is anybody that goes through our program to buy a house has to go through our portal and sign up there and enter, because we use that information. We don't sell their information, but we do use that information to report to NeighborWorks so that they can see the work that we do, because we get audited. As a nonprofit, we get a lot of funding, federal funding. We want to make sure that the things that we do it right. And I am not the loan originator here. I run the program. So Brooke Gibson, our loan originator, who is not available today, I wish she could be here with us. This is her contact information. Anybody who wants to go through our program and has more questions has to go through Brooke.
Good deal. Well, Musa, yeah, thank you. And Dietrich, thank you. So wanted to take a few minutes here and just kind of talk through some myths and misperceptions that we see, and then we'll talk about some best practices. But we hear a lot about trying to make this decision to buy now versus to wait. And if we think about appreciation, and in Seattle, I think this is even more pronounced than perhaps in many other markets in the country. But the impact of waiting, if you had made that decision 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, probably just means that homeownership continues to be farther and farther out of reach. And we also know that from surveys and studies we've done, things that we see from everybody from National Association of Realtors to MBA to HUD and others, there are a lot of potential home buyers out there that think that they have to save 20% of the price in order to consider home ownership, right? They think that's a requirement. So, that, or let's talk about that first. So any thoughts on this idea of waiting to buy a home as you save money, and how would you combat that with a realtor, with a loan officer, or even with a home buyer?
Well, I would,
if I may.
Oh, go ahead, Musa.
Okay, so if I may say, one thing that we tell our clients is, if you're ready for it, go for it. Because if you're renting, there is always this chance of your rent keep going up. And we know that our market is very competitive. Like you said, house prices are just going up and up. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. They could drop like we've seen in 2008. But it's less likely that it's happening here. I mean, there are a bunch of realtors, group of realtors here. They know this market better than I do. So I'm just talking about my personal knowledge and experience here. But also buying a house now gives these folks a sense of stability. They don't have to feel like this place where the homeowner can suddenly give them a notice because they want to sell the house. They have to look for another place for them and their kids and have to change schools and all that. So therefore, if anybody is ready, we feel that they're ready financially, we try to motivate them to buy a house. And we also talk to realtors about that possibility as well. Go ahead, Dietrich.
Yeah, I would pretty much echo what Musa said. And, you know, a good thing to look at is to look at, would you have wanted to have been a homeowner 3 years ago in terms of the housing prices? You can, when you can get in now into a market, and you foresee that you aren't going to be needing to move in the next year or two anyhow, why not enter the market? It kind of makes it so that you're not just maybe saving up for a down payment, but you're now actually spending money every month to gain equity in that property. It's like a forced savings plan that automatically over time will build up your financial position.
So let's talk for a moment about let's call it seller apprehension. We know that well, let's acknowledge this is not a myth. It's an obstacle. There are sellers that are apprehensive about accepting even an FHA offer, much less an offer that includes down payment assistance. But you both mentioned, and Musa, you specifically mentioned the possibility of layering 2 or 3 or even 4 or more down payment assistance programs. How do we speak to our audience of realtors today, and how do they educate sellers about, you know, the strength of an offer like that and why they should accept that offer?
Well, I'll start. I would say as a beginning, our funds are always available. The funds that a buyer may have saved up or maybe being gifted, they may not get the gift, or they may shuffle their funds around in such a way as to not make them eligible, or they, you know, there are problems that come up with sometimes the funds that come from a borrower's checking and savings account. Our funds are just there. There's really no scrutiny on them like there is funds from the borrower. So they tend to make for a stronger borrower because they have this large lump of funds coming from us, and the home buyer's educated in the process. The files are underwritten through AUS, through the automated underwriting system. So you really wind up with a pretty solid borrower when you get someone who's getting our down payment assistance, because they have a partnership with us to get some of those funds that are going to be delivered to make the transaction happen.
And Musa, your thoughts?
Yeah, what I would add to that is, thanks Dietrich for that. What I would add to that is, I mean, our programs are fairly solid, and we've been doing this for many years. In fact, usually what we end up hearing is from realtors when we do these things is, how come we didn't hear from you guys? And people call us like HomeSight the best kept secret, because I mean, these programs that we have allow folks who normally not be able to buy a house, be able to get into a home and be able to secure a place for their families. And what I wanted to say about this is, like any major lender there, I mean, we are in the nonprofit, but we try to compete and close our deals in the less amount of time possible. Most of our deals are closed within 30 days and without any hiccups. Very smooth, yeah. So I think to what I said to realtors there is, bring your clients here to us. Not only will help them with their financing, but also we're gonna make this a very smooth transaction. And we really deeply care about customer service. Coming from the private sector, I know what that means. And we work closely with our realtor partners and work with them throughout the process. The only challenges that we have sometimes is with community land trust deals, because of the appraisal may take longer on those, because not every appraiser can do those. So those are the only hiccup. But any regular purchase, I mean, I say try us and you'll be happy with us, and your client will be happy as well. And your deal will close fairly quickly.
Yeah, I want to point out two things. Well, maybe three. I mean, both of you require home buyer education. So these buyers, these potential buyers are being educated about the process and about the success, what it takes to be a successful long-term homeowner.
Mhm.
They're also income and credit qualified. And I think maybe that's where some apprehension comes from. You both have minimum credit scores of 620. They have to be income and credit qualified in order to access your programs.
Mhm.
So any offer that an agent is helping a buyer with, if it's involving your programs, they're 620 or better and they're credit qualified, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, given that, we're talking about, conventional mortgage ready buyers here. And if there is any agent or seller apprehension, if you're representing the seller, where's that apprehension coming from? Is it the seller, or is it, a bad past experience with the DPA? Maybe, and that's a segue to our next topic here. Maybe that's a result of not having the best loan officer partnerships in place for this kind of transaction. Now, I want to be clear about that. We're not pointing fingers at any loan officer, but if you don't have a partner, a loan officer partner that offers these programs, what is your plan for first-time home buyers, and how do you intend to achieve it? So with that, Dietrich, I'll just ask you first, what's the best way for a realtor to find a loan officer that is, I don't want to just say participates, but that is savvy with your programs?
So I would say the best way to go is to look at our Premier Lender page on our website. We advertise the top loan officers on a quarterly and annual basis who use our programs in all the different counties of the state. So you can find lenders who are not only knowledgeable, but have skills with our programs, and also a willingness, either for themselves or themselves and their company, to work on these loans. They are a little more work for the lender, really not too much more. But sometimes lenders like to or prefer the path of the absolute least resistance. And sometimes that's not necessarily the best path for the buyer. So I would say look at our Premier Lender page and talk to some of the folks there.
Yeah, and Musa, I'm going to come to you in a sec, but Dietrich, that's a good point. Sometimes the path of least resistance is not an option for some buyers. Somebody needs to dig in and do a little extra work. But sometimes we're talking about creating a buyer and creating a transaction that may not have otherwise happened. So for realtors, that's a great way to earn more referral business. For loan officers, that's a great way to build up their pipeline and establish good relationships with all of our audience today. And I'm sure this is happening in Q&A, but a lot of people are probably asking, because this is always the first question we get: how do I find the best loan officer to help me with these transactions? So we're not here to promote any loan officers, but Washington State Housing Finance Corp has their network of participating lenders, and among them, loan officers who do these programs more frequently, more efficiently, do higher volume, and probably want your business, realtors. So Musa, let me ask the same question to you. It's probably a little different answer, but if a realtor wants to explore how to partner with your program and how to get those done, what's the next step for them to hook up with, the lending side?
Yeah, the next step is just to reach out to us, and we'll be able to, work with them, give them information as far as what needs to be done. That's about it. Because
Okay.
I mean, we have our own little thing here, and we reach out to folks, and also we have folks reach out to us, and we have created great partnership.
Now, I had one other topic on here, inventory alternatives. I want to move past this because I want to get to some best practices here. But the idea there was, Musa mentioned we're not doing fixer-uppers and handyman specials, but maybe there's a property that isn't exactly what the buyer dreamed of. But if they had down payment assistance and they didn't have to spend all the cash they had, and some paint and some, kind of DIY stuff could help them get into that house and make it their dream home. That's what we were thinking of, is, with a market like this, and Musa, correct me if I'm wrong here, but with a market like this, every buyer can't expect that they're going to get their dream home. There's just a lot of competition and limited inventory. But if they're willing to overlook some cosmetic I don't want to say defects, but if they're willing to overlook the cosmetics and figure out what they can do on their own, they can use your down payment assistance program to get into the home and then make it their own without having to repair roofs and appliances and things like that. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are not set on, some of the cosmetic things. As far as it's a livable, it has a roof, doors, windows, and the basics. That's all we care about. Yeah. And
Okay.
once they get in, as far as cosmetic, anything they can repair, that's on their own. Yeah. But we don't want to finance something where the client won't be able to live in it and have to deal with that.
Right. All right. So a couple minutes here for best practices, and I want to give you guys a moment for some final thoughts. So we've said work with the DPAs, or work with the lenders rather, that know and understand these DPAs. I think we've addressed that, but as a best practice, that's what realtors should be looking to do, is establish relationships with loan officers for these first-time home buyers or for these buyers that make sense. Make sure the loan officers offer these programs, they're good at them. Musa and Dietrich have also both said that loan officers that work with their programs and do them well are closing within 30 days. That's, I'm sure, another question happening here in the Q&A or in the chat. Dietrich, you guys have done something unique, I believe, this year, offering an approval letter with or some kind of collateral for realtors to send along with an offer. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. And I'm happy to get that shared with you guys. It just enlightens folks on our programs and what's happening, so that if you have a listing agent who maybe is new to our programs, you actually have an asset that you can send with it that will explain things pretty well.
And then as far as homebuyer education, I'll let both of you weigh in on this, and then we'll give you some final thoughts here. What's your perspective on homebuyer education as far as when to do it or why to do it? Any reason to wait? Does it need to happen after application? How long is your certificate of completion good for? Musa, how about you first?
Yeah, if a client thinks that they're ready or they're getting ready, anytime is good to do that, because the certificate lasts 2 years. So if they do it today, it's good for 2 years. And as far as the one-on-one counseling, they have to do that between when they submit their application and when the loan closes, in that 30-day window, where they have to meet with, they can do it prior, a few days or weeks prior to that. But as far as they do that, between that, that's fine. But yeah, as far as the home buyer education class, they can take it anytime. They can take it the day of this, after they submit their application. Before the loan close, they can do that, or they can be proactive and take it prior to submitting their application, or when they're getting ready to buy for the next 6 months or the next year. So
yeah, and the byproduct of that is they're just going to be better prepared for the home buyer experience once they really start to once everything starts to snowball and come into place, right?
Yeah, I would say save yourself some time as a professional and get them through their homebuyer education early. The certificates are good for 2 years. And, it's a huge process on taking on hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, setting up your permanent location for the many years ahead of you. And the earlier they start thinking about the questions that brings up, the better home buyers you will have on your plate when you're getting actually down to looking at the homes, making offers, and following through to the completion of closing on the home.
Great point. So with that, Musa, just take a minute or two here and offer your final thoughts. What are your takeaways for these hundreds of Northwest MLS members, realtors and brokers that are with us today? What's the one or two things you want them to walk away with?
Yeah. What I want to share with them is just my personal experience. Like I said, I came from the private sector. I was in banking, and during my tenure with the banking, I worked as a loan originator, and I worked here in Seattle in the affluent neighborhood of Queen Anne. I worked there for 15 years, and I work with folks who are able to, when they're buying or their kids are buying, be able to put a big check down and be able to secure their down payment. It's not any different than what we do here. Here, they may not have a parent or a family member that can give them that boost, but that's where we came in. So And the loan process is not any different. It's the same. It goes through the same criteria. And also we try to close these deals as less time as possible. So within the 30 days, sometime maybe less, it had happened. But because of the other folks, other programs that we work with, like the Washington State Housing Finance, they do their part, we do our part. That's why that 30 days come from. But if it wasn't that, we could close these deals maybe in 21 days. But yeah, so talking to these realtors, I think what we have here is a great program for folks who are there, who deserve to be in a house, hardworking families who work hard, 2-3 jobs, deserve to be in a house. We need to give them a chance. So let's partner and work together and help these folks, because I mean, like everybody else, they need to realize their American dream of home ownership.
Excellent. Thank you, Musa. And Dietrich, final thoughts?
I would just say it's the advantage of getting to know our programs and putting them to use. You're going to find out as you work more and more with our programs. You'll find out that the assets are cleaner that come in terms of the documentation required. So it skips that one problem that you might wind up with at underwriting, where a lender over scrutinizes the assets. We just show up, our assets are accepted. We're money that helps make the whole thing happen. Additionally to that, if you aren't familiar with our programs, you have missed out on clients. There are people out there who, if you've been in the business for any length of time and you haven't used our programs, there are deals that could have happened that you just didn't know could have happened, because there's larger amounts of down payment assistance available. You know, as the prices increase, we're seeing 12,000, 20,000, you know, 30 up to 55,000 in down payment assistance come from just our programs. That reduces the principal on the mortgage, that reduces the cost of the mortgage, that reduces mortgage insurance. It's not for every deal, but there are folks out there who you can make into home buyers because you're knowledgeable on our programs and familiar with them. So that would be my last thoughts on them.
That's excellent. And in both cases, you're also building partnerships with loan officers that know these programs and may have their own referral channels that could open up additional business. To that point, I think we would all agree that for realtors, for loan officers, for everybody involved, a DPA customer becomes a customer for life. If you can help somebody, and we see these stories told in social media marketing and so forth, where, you know, a realtor will post a story about a client they recently helped and they got them down payment assistance, and that story is broadcast to their social network, and then that just drives more referrals. A DPA customer, someone who was income and credit qualified but thought that they had to sit on the bench because they didn't think they had the cash to close. They thought that down payment was a wall they couldn't get over. If you can help them through that obstacle and you can illuminate a path to home ownership, they're a customer for life and their referrals are going to you. We also have a Facebook group called Down Payment Insiders that is over 8,000, mostly realtors, but also some loan officers and DPA providers all over the country, in this case, that are sharing stories and best practices and marketing content and lessons learned and obstacles in their solutions, all around first-time home buyers, down payment assistance programs, and the like. So we encourage you to join that group. You can listen in and learn. You can chime in and educate and share your stories, but we'd love for you to join the Down Payment Insiders group on Facebook. And if you have any questions for us at Down Payment Resource, you can reach out to us at info@downpaymentresource.com. And again, look for that $sign with a little check mark on your listings. And when you're in Matrix, if you see that button, simply click on it and we will show you all of Dietrich's programs from your state housing agency. We'll show you HomeSight's programs and what Musa is doing and all of the other programs available, regardless of where you are within the state of Washington or where that property might be that you're looking at. So check that out. And with that, I want to turn this back over to your Northwest MLS staff.
May I please, just one thing, please?
Sure.
Yeah, earlier in the chat, I saw somebody asking about loan for people who don't have Social Security. So HomeSight just started a new program called the ITIN program for undocumented folks. and we require 5% down, and we help them get into home ownership. Just wanted to share that. It's a new program that we just started this year, a few
Okay.
months ago. Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty more questions. I can see them mounting. So let me turn it over to the Northwest MLS staff, and then we'll get into Q&A here.
You got it. First of all, Sean, Dietrich, and Mosa, thank you guys, and those folks who answered the questions. Vern and Veronica, thank you guys so much for your input. We here at Northwest MLS are excited about this program. I just want to remind everybody about 2 upcoming trainings on DPR, down payment resource, as it relates to the matrix. In this 1-hour class, we're going to show you how to navigate down payment resource as it relates to the matrix. We're also going to show you how to customize the matrix for better use in using a down payment resource. And then finally, we'll show you how to prospect using DPR in the matrix, finding first-time home buyers and renters. So please keep this date, save the date, November 17th from 1 to 2. The class is called Generating Leads with Down Payment Resource. And there's another one on December 2nd from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., also called Generating Leads with Down Payment Resources. So again, we're so excited about that. Please save those dates, and we look forward to showing you more about down payment resource as it relates to the matrix. Thanks again, Sean.
Yeah, excellent. So Mel and Veronica have been in the background answering questions. I can see they have been very busy, and we still have a huge audience. Mel, Veronica, how do you want to spend the last couple of minutes here? Are there any themes we can address?
Sean, for me, I know one that came up quite often was layering programs, and in general, and then specific to HomeSight and Washington State, if the programs, if they could use more than one DPA program at a time, and specifically the guest that we had today.
Yeah, Dietrich, you want to start that, and then Musa wrap it up?
Yeah, so for the commission, you can only use one of our down payment assistance programs per transaction, but you can stack outside down payment assistance on top of that, which Musa can tell you a little bit more about.
Yeah, thank you. For our programs, we can, of course, we can stack up programs. Like I said, sometimes we have 3, 4, 5, even 6. The max we had was 7 layers, but there are programs that you cannot stack together. You cannot use the City of Seattle and the King County. We don't allow that, but you can use the City of Seattle, the Sam Smith funds, and City of Seattle, Sam Smith Fund Social Justice Program, and also on top of all those, we add the 25,000 from HomeSight. So yeah, we can definitely stack things.
And
But
Sean, I'm sorry, go ahead, Musa.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say another question that I've seen repeatedly is asking if there's any prepayment penalty if anyone was to pay off early.
Not at all on our side, no.
Not at all on ours either.
Veronica, I'm also seeing a lot of questions here about geography. Let me just throw this out there for you, Dietrich, and well, and you too, Musa. See several questions about where these programs are available. Are there programs in Central Washington, Wenatchee Valley? I saw Snohomish, we covered that. Clark County, Skagit, Whatcom County. So I've rattled off a few that address a lot of people's questions, but can you talk a little bit about geographic availability of your programs? Dietrich, maybe you first.
Sure. So our Home Advantage and House Key programs are available statewide, as well as our programs for disabled families or DPA programs for veterans. Those are all statewide programs. We have certain programs that are partnerships with certain cities and counties, but that's dependent on the city and county wanting to spend their fund on down payment assistance. Not every city wants to do that. We're happy to partner with them if they do, but what we found is that sometimes the cost of subsidizing housing at lower income levels really requires these days a much larger solution than some cities and counties are willing to commit to on a per deal basis. But we're always happy to open up new partnerships and explore them. If you know anybody in your local government, I'm usually one of the first contact points to talk to them.
Yeah, that's a great avenue for opening new doors to new programs. Musa, want to stick with a similar question. There's still one remaining in here. Will the HomeSight program work in Renton, Kent, or Federal Way? And then generally speaking, just talk about geography.
Absolutely, absolutely. Renton, we do a lot of deals in Renton. We have closed many deals in Renton right now, and also Federal Way as well. And for HomeSight, our program is statewide, and we try to help our clients get what they need wherever they are. Right now, we're working with, we're pushing big time for Yakima and Spokane. And right now we have a few deals for the Habitat for Humanity Spokane. They have some new homes coming, and they're working with us as their preferred lender. We're helping along bring our down payment assistance, and they have resources from Spokane. And we're marrying those, combining those to help these folks get into home ownership. Yes, all over the state, wherever you folks are, we'll help them. The only thing is some of the programs that are specific to some zones cannot be carried over, like the City of Seattle DPA program or the King County DPA program. Those stay here within these areas, but we have programs for everywhere in the state.
Okay, good deal. So we have Melinda and Veronica and Fern in the background. Maybe I'll just ask them each if they've got one more question they each want to pose. I'll wrap it up on my end with FICO. With a few more questions here about minimum FICO. Can you both just confirm it's 620 for both of you?
Yes, 620.
Okay. Mel, any one question you want to ask while we have a couple minutes here?
I really don't have anything specific. There are some great questions, very specific questions about the programs, and I'm just kind of leading everybody to their websites because there's such good information there. So no, Sean, I don't have anything specific, nothing trending on my end.
Well, I'll throw one in there. So there's a good question here, and Dietrich, Musa, I'm not quite sure whose place it is to answer this, but Lisa asked, are agents allowed to market these programs? Are real estate agents allowed to market your programs on something like, for example, a buy versus rent flyer? She was told by a lender that was outside of her area of expertise, but that's not.
I would say we would just want to review something like that prior to issue.
Yeah, we can work with whoever that's interested in that, and we can do a joint marketing. And yeah, like Dietrich said, we can see what they're going to put out there. But yeah, absolutely. If they need information, we can provide information that they can use out there and share with their the target audience. Yeah, absolutely.
And do either of you have any sort of ready to go collateral for realtors and brokers to use?
Yes, we do. I'd be happy to get those shared with participants.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, that'd be great. So everybody that's still here, we'll send some of that stuff out with our follow-up with the recording. Fern, Veronica, any last question you want to throw out there?
Yeah, we had a question in regards to what does it cost a potential buyer to get this money for down payment? They are assuming it's not free.
For our programs, 90% of our loans are Home Advantage DPAs at 0% interest. There's a $40 program fee that's charged on it. Otherwise, if you want to look at the full picture of things on Home Advantage, the interest rates are maybe a little bit higher, but still competitive with a rate that didn't have down payment assistance. But if the buyer's in the case where they couldn't buy a home otherwise, then it's probably the best way to go. And additionally to that, we have the House Key program, which has below market rates along with down payment assistance for folks making less income. So, you know, our programs help a lot of people. We do over 8,000 people a year who find us as the best path. So I would say it's a good option to look at for your buyers.
Okay,
and
good deal.
there's one question here that I thought would be helpful for everyone, and that is, does a home buyer need to be a resident of Washington already in order to qualify for these programs?
For the commission, no, they just need to be buying their primary residence in Washington State.
Washington State, yeah, same here. They have to be buying their primary residence here, yeah.
Okay, excellent. So let me do this. We have a ton of questions here that we didn't get to. I want to go back to contact information because we still have a huge audience with us. So if you'd like to get a hold of HomeSight, Musa, why don't you go ahead and just tell everybody where to go? What's the best next step for them?
The best next step is either to contact Brooke, who is our loan originator, because she is the one that is the spearhead of this program. She is the one that deals directly with the clients and the realtors. But please feel free to contact me and I'll make sure that we get you what you need and also get you the information you need, but also connect you with Brooke for sure.
And let me briefly get Brooke's contact information up here. That was in a slide, I do believe. Well, I thought that was in a slide, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. It is on the last slide, I believe.
Last one. Okay, hold on a second, guys. I'll get you Brooke's contact info. Here we go. So there's Brooke at HomeSight. And then, and I'm doing this because there's no way we're going to get to all these questions and they're still coming in. So thank you all for sticking around here. I appreciate that. And Dietrich, let me get your contact information up here. And then best next step for anybody that wants to work with the commission.
Feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address in the chat box if you just want to copy and paste it that way. But I will go ahead and respond to everyone's email who emails me from this and get you on the right path for the next steps.
Okay, good deal. And then if you have any questions for us at Down Payment Resource, you can reach out to us at info@downpaymentresource.com. And we will also send out a follow-up for everybody that registered and or attended, including the recorded webinar. Everybody here's contact information and a few additional things. For example, some collateral from both your state agency as well as HomeSight, and some next steps to help keep you going. So with that, I'll also want to thank the Northwest MLS crew for putting this together. We had a big audience today. This was a hit. Thank you. We appreciate it. Dietrich, Musa, thank you so much for joining us today. And everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean, for this opportunity. Thank you, Dietrich. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It was great to work with you and great to speak with all of you.
All righty. Good deal, guys. Have a wonderful day. We'll be back in touch with some follow-up materials.
Thank you. We look forward to that.